Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/mother-in-laws from hell. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, reading some comments, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. EJ24. Am I wrong to assert some boundaries with my mother-in-law rather than let her gaslight me? Way too much background to get into, but for context, my mother-in-law is clearly someone who's experienced a lot of trauma in her life, but has never examined it, and has instead let it impact her close relationships. My partner and his siblings did not have a nice childhood and suffered some physical abuse. However, only the more palatable parts of their childhood are ever mentioned, and mother-in-law paints herself as a loving mother and grandmother. She is obsessed with her family. No close friends, no hobbies or interests, to the point that she has gotten involved in my partner's brother's relationship, and he has now no contact with her because of the harassment his ex suffered. There is lots of discord in the family, but mother-in-law refuses to think about why this could be happening or accept any responsibility for her part to play in it. I've tried my best to remain on good terms with my mother-in-law for the sake of my partner. Things have changed since the birth of my daughter 8 months ago, however. She was born prematurely and was in the NICU for 6 weeks. My partner's family proved themselves to not be very supportive during this time for various reasons. One of my partner's brothers didn't visit at all despite living only 20 minutes away. My mom was very helpful and stayed with us, cooking for us and walking our dog. My mother-in-law was clearly very resentful of this despite the fact that she hates cooking and never walks her own dogs. Clearly, my mother-in-law felt like we had shunned her somehow by accepting support from my mom. Fast forward to August, and there is an incident where mother-in-law clearly decides that she is going to fix the issues in her family. She turns up at our house unannounced, fairly common occurrence unfortunately, at 8 p.m. when I'm putting my daughter to bed. My partner is out of the house, but nearby. We live in the country and keep our back door open during the day, and mother-in-law lets herself in, shouting my partner's name, clearly in an aggravated state. I call down to her that I'm getting my daughter ready for bed, but she doesn't respond to me. I phone my partner, and he returns fairly quickly. From what I can hear, it's clear that mother-in-law wants my partner to go with her and drive over to his brother's house to sort out the issues between them. My partner refuses and removes mother-in-law from the house. They proceed to have an argument outside on our driveway that I can't hear, but apparently, mother-in-law goes on to insult my mother and states that all the issues in the family stem from my partner and his brother falling out. My partner then tells her some harsh truths about how she's actually responsible for the poor state of affairs between her children. Well, mother-in-law storms off, and my partner later receives a barrage of abuse from his sister, who will not accept any criticism of her mother. Both sisters block me on social media, and so does mother-in-law. Mother-in-law's husband bangs on our door at 8 a.m. the following day and tries to intimidate my partner, and later leaves him a nasty voicemail. We don't hear anything from mother-in-law for a month until she texts me, asking to meet and see the baby. We meet her somewhere neutral, expecting to have an honest conversation with her and hopefully move forward. However, mother-in-law decides to bring my 5-year-old nephew along as some kind of human shield and barely says one word to my partner during the 40 minutes we spend together. She acts like this is an entirely normal interaction and makes light chit-chat about the baby. The whole incident leaves a really nasty taste in my mouth. There's been a few texts since, and mother-in-law messages yesterday asking if she can see the baby. I reply yes, we can meet her somewhere for lunch. She responds, asking why can't she just pop around? I have had enough by this point, and sent her a very blunt but not unkind message explaining that she and her husband have made me feel on edge in my own home and I don't feel comfortable with her visiting. I explained that I am not going to facilitate her not engaging with her son, and that if she wants to see us, it will be both of us, in a public place, and we will have an honest conversation. I explained that I am not going to stop her seeing her grandchild, but her relationship with me has to change as a result of her actions. No response. My partner thinks I've been too blunt with my message, and I could have sugarcoated it a bit to make it more palatable for her. I'm fed up in all honesty. I love my partner and want to respect his wishes, but I also want to stand up for myself and advocate for my daughter. I'm determined that the cycle of trauma ends with my partner, and my daughter grows up in a loving home with open communication and without secrets. I'm not sure how to proceed from here. I just hope I don't look back and regret my actions. There is a second part to this that I'll be reading next, but I just want to add as a quick little Oz note here. If you're going to confront someone about their behavior, sugarcoating your words only kind of invites the behavior to continue, especially if that lines up with their personality. Because sometimes, some people, when met with a soft confrontation about their actions, will end up seeing the sugarcoating as, oh, the grievances that they're actually bringing forward, these are optional grievances, and I don't actually need to change my behavior because this isn't that big of a deal. It's a bit unfortunate, but by not being blunt and sugarcoating something, sometimes you're just further enabling that behavior to continue. If you're going to sugarcoat a conversation, make sure it's with someone that you can actually trust will understand what you mean. But that's just my opinion from my experiences. EJ24. My partner confronted his mother. The mask slipped, and he finally sees her for who she really is. Firstly, I wanted to thank everyone who commented on my previous post, which we just read, and gave such thoughtful advice and support. It really helped me to understand what was properly going on, that my mother-in-law's behavior was unacceptable, and that I need to protect my baby from her toxic influence. I told my partner that I wouldn't be having any more contact with mother-in-law. She couldn't come to the house, and she couldn't see our baby, as all trust had now been broken. I said that if she shows signs of any personal growth, I might reconsider my stance, but it would be a very gradual process. He understood this and arranged to go and meet her, at her request. It went down as you might expect if you read my previous post. She came armed with a load of grievances, some on behalf of her daughters that weren't even anything to do with her, and clearly wanted my partner to grovel. I think he has decided to spare me some of the details, but I imagine she went in hard on me. At one point, she called me a liar and suggested I was keeping things from him, which is nonsense. She also suggested that my partner and I weren't ready to be parents. Our baby wasn't planned. The implication being that she wasn't wanted, which is completely untrue and so hurtful. And that we have purposely kept our baby from her family. We were ignored for almost 4 months by my sisters-in-law for trying to set some boundaries. She also said that we were using our baby like a bargaining chip and view her as some sort of possession. Ironic, coming from the woman who denies her children their autonomy and feels entitled to them, their partners, and their homes. Worst of all, she said she didn't know why we thought our baby might have cerebral palsy, as if we had made that up for attention. Our baby was born 10 weeks early at a low birth weight and initially had very stiff limbs, and we were obviously concerned. But mother-in-law can't stand the idea of anything being wrong in the world. She prefers to bury any negative feelings or trauma, as she sees showing any vulnerability as weakness. She insisted that we had all the support from her and her daughters we needed while our baby was in the NICU, and that we should essentially stop going on about it. My partner was furious at this point and decides to confront mother-in-law and call her out for the physical and emotional abuse she inflicted on him all throughout his childhood. He told her how much he feared her and her then husband, and how much damage she's inflicted. Her response was, "It was discipline. Boo-hoo." He brought up a specific incident where mother-in-law had pulled a nose ring out of my sister-in-law's nose, and mother-in-law got angry and said, "Let's call her up now and see what she has to say about it." At that point, my partner said, "We're done here," and left. He came back and told me he felt really empowered for finally confronting her. Her heartless response to his suffering has shown him that she has no remorse for her actions, and therefore we don't want anything more to do with her. I do not trust her with my child, and therefore there is no point in trying to maintain even a low-contact relationship. I must admit, I feel more at peace than I have done in months. I feel excited about the future again, and I feel like my partner and I can get married without worrying whether or not to invite my mother-in-law. Thank you all again for helping me get to this place. If your abuser ever responds to any confrontation with boo-hoo, then it's time to go no contact immediately. No reasonable amount of therapy, introspection, personal reflection, conversations, or any kind of way that they might even do some soul searching is going to help them. They are very much hard set in their ways. And in this case, it's going to be safer just to walk away and go no contact and let them actually see if they can figure their shit out and maybe return to their table with some soul searching done. But that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to keep you and your family safe. And that's what OP's done here. Also, on another note, watching someone's mask slip and seeing who they actually are, even for a split second, is certainly a gut-wrenching experience to go through. Because you have that moment where you realize oh, this person has just been lying to me and stringing me along, or my faith in this person was entirely misguided, and this is what they really are. Sometimes it can be as overt as boo-hoo to abuse. And other times it can be something as simple as how something is worded with the right words in the wrong place at the wrong time. A deliberate choice of wording from an internal monologue that came out during a Freudian slip. The former are the easiest to stand up to because you see the mask fall off. But the latter, it's a slip of the mask. And you spend the time debating on whether or not that slip-up actually happened, or if you misunderstood something. Or maybe it was just genuinely the wrong wording. But the question remains of whether or not you did just get a glimpse behind that mask and what it really means. I hope that OP and their husband are able to move on, rebuild, and live lives that they're able to be happy with and proud of, and to get away from the abusive circle that is the in-laws family structure. Here's to hoping that now that OP's out, they're able to stay out. Posted by okay. Future mother-in-law lost her shit at our engagement party because she couldn't blast her own music. This is genuinely my last straw. We have had so many issues in the last year with being disrespected, etc. Well, we had our engagement party. Multiple conversations from her husband, my fiancé and her daughter telling her not to get drunk and aggressive. Party starts at 1 p.m. at our house. We fully decorated, paid for a grazing board, had heaps of help from heaps of people getting everything really nice, and had about 40 people come over, which was stressful, but honestly, really fun. I felt so zen. I'm usually an anxious person, but I was just happy. Smiley face. Around 2 p.m., the giant speaker just starts blasting Spanish music. We have a small living room and a small patio, very small, so it was close quarters and just not the vibe. I had a playlist that we made, like smooth jazz, bit of Michael and the Eagles and Sade, just calm and fun in the background of everyone having loud conversations. I went outside and I said, sorry, I just would like my playlist on. She told me no, that she's dancing and the 2-year-old is dancing. And I said, I would like my own music on. She told me off and said no. So I went inside, told my fiancé, he grabbed my phone and went and handled it, and my music was back on. This happened 4 times. He handled it every single time. The second time, as I'm cutting the cake to hand out to people, and some were leaving, she was yelling in my face, and this one's losing it over the music, screaming in my face, screaming over the music. And I was so fucking over it. I just deadpanned her and said, no, I did not. I asked you very quietly, and I didn't raise my voice. Do not lie. She admitted she was joking. Then, when there's about 15 people left, all getting ready to leave, the speaker is magically inside the house. And it starts blasting at full volume, 1 meter from everyone, extremely loud, insane Spanish music like full energy. This is a 1K giant speaker. It is so fucking loud. I lost my fucking mind at this point. I lost my temper and I turned all the music off. Everyone looked at me, including his dad and sister, and I just said, I don't give a fuck. It's not about the music, it's about the boundary. Stop changing the music. Now I look like the crazy one. Then my fiance, at our party, in our house, has to go spend 45 minutes outside consoling his mother who's crying and cracking it about me. How she gave birth to him. How this and that and this and that about me. My parents went outside and she's telling my mom it's all my mom's fault. I'm rigid and controlling. My parents telling her, don't speak about her that way. My dad's crying because my fiance is defending me. It was just fucking ridiculous. And everyone inside is just in shock at her behavior and agreeing that this is insanity. And now they understand why I've said things here and there to them. And to top it all off, she dropped her phone in the toilet, took a piss and a shit on it, and then flushed it and had no idea, and one of my guests found the phone and I had to go and fish it out of the toilet covered in paper, and then she denied it. I cleaned it and then goes, "Oh, I've lost my phone." All drunk in front of everyone. Holy shit. LOL. Could have been worse, but I'm just so pissed off. Like, what more could we have done? What more could he have done? I like her music, but for fuck's sakes, just ask me. Don't take it over and then act like I'm rigid for not letting you. Could the same not be said for you? OMFG, so done. I feel like never talking to her again. My biggest recommendation to OP is just to be careful, keep your mother-in-law at arm's length, and it sounds like your husband is doing a good job of keeping you first and keeping your mother-in-law in check as much as you can. Taking a brief safari into the comment section, it sounds like a lot of the mother-in-law's recent behaviors are pretty new, like within the recent 2 years of it. And this is just a whole new chapter that everyone's still trying to navigate. And this is not normal. As a quick direct excerpt from OP, she's a new alcoholic that no one wants to acknowledge, and it is developing rapidly from a gastric sleeve that's causing transfer addiction. It's all brand new behavior in the last 18 to 20 months. This is very much a situation where the mother-in-law's condition seems to be worsening and no one really knows how to approach or handle it. Hopefully the mother-in-law can get the help she needs and she doesn't turn into one of the monsters that we see roaming around on this subreddit. That'd be pretty cool, and hopefully this is the case for OP as well. Llama Cheesemaker. Mother-in-law showed up at midnight with backup. My husband and I have been limited contact to no contact with his family for about 6 months now. We stopped showing up around January this year and stopped being friendly, just civil, after his parents denied ever borrowing or taking money from us. It was supposed to be for a business, and they never paid us back. I told my husband that was the last straw. They showed up here at 11:45 p.m. the other night. The gall of them, shouting outside, begging us to come out, all because my mother-in-law from hell apparently doesn't understand how angry her son is at her and my thieving father-in-law. It was so embarrassing. They even brought some cousins along, probably to pressure us into coming out. In the end, my husband told them to never visit again unless they're invited. I was fuming inside, but I kept smiling and even politely refused when they invited us on a trip. Like, what the fuck? Do they really have no sense of boundaries or awareness? Anyway, I stayed composed and let my husband do all the talking, but I'm sure by now my in-laws know I can't stand them, despite my polite smiles. My mother-in-law didn't even talk to me like she used to, just stared and fake cried, saying she missed her son and was upset we don't visit anymore. She's also upset we had an elope wedding. My husband got fed up and decided we'd get married without any of them invited. And frankly, I couldn't be happier. I feel vindicated too, since my husband didn't give in. He put my mother-in-law in her place. About time to learn how to respect people's boundaries. Big fan of the mother-in-law stories where the husband actually stands up for the family and is willing to put the family he helped build ahead of the family that he was raised with. So I'm certainly happy that OP has a husband who's willing to stand up to their mother-in-law, because sometimes we stumble upon stories where they just fold and things just get messier and messier and messier until OP hits a breaking point with their spouse and things just end up collapsing. So, good for OP for finding a husband who's willing to burn bridges with his parents in order to keep his family safe. Mama B 77, mother-in-law busted and questioned for nurses. Long story short, my mother-in-law is a literal monster. Not only did she verbally abuse me when I was pregnant constantly, but it didn't stop after I had the baby. Last year, we had a huge blow-up fight over the phone over some things I didn't disclose with my in-laws. I transferred colleges because of depression and loss of 2 people in my life. They tried to turn my husband against me and say he didn't even know me over this. Blah, blah, blah. Then they did a background check on me and my father, who's a cop, by the way, and tried to belittle me because he has a different child out of wedlock. Well, this might be the biggest regret she's ever made because she didn't know who she was messing with. My husband was discussing his medical bills with her and mentioned something about self-pay. She didn't know what that was, which is odd because she's been claiming to be a nurse. I decided to look her up on Nurses and saw conflicting information. She has a common first and last name in the state they're from. When she started making threats about us keeping her from seeing our baby, my father decided to run a background check. She got arrested for something in 2019, but we're still digging on that. Who would have thought it would be this easy to find out information on people, lol. She has a nursing aid license that lapsed in the 1990s. So you're probably wondering why I care. She very likely used another person's license to get her current job at a hospital. The state where her license is has a very backwards database, so it looks easy to get away with. It doesn't list middle name, but it did give license issue date, so her story doesn't add up at all. I got my husband to make her send a screenshot of her license from the database. Of course it wasn't hers. Well, tonight, after searching for literally 6 months, I found the poor woman whose license she's been using. It's a beautiful single mother raising 2 children alone. She had a rainbow baby like me in her bio, so it broke my heart. My mother-in-law is an entitled witch. I bet you anything this sweet mother went to nursing school while pregnant to make sure her children had a good life. I don't know what to do next. I'm really thinking about reaching out to confirm it's her, but I'm 95% sure it is. And during Nurses Week, I work during COVID in the hospital, so I appreciate all medical people. We have always had it hard, so this situation is sickening. I'm definitely telling my husband first. Any advice would be appreciated because my dad doesn't really know what to do. Update. I reported her, obviously. My husband is shocked to see it on paper that she lied. It's also uncovered unrelated lies from his father too. Thank you to the person in the comments that told me what to do. She's employed through her home state but living in our state, so my dad couldn't report it to the board there. I did contact the lady she's been impersonating. I felt so bad for her. She told me her story of school and being a mom. I can't believe we have nasty mother-in-laws out there that do this mess. My husband even told me that the place where the lady lives is the poorest city in the whole state. So she's not only saving lives of the less fortunate, but also beat a statistic for single moms. My in-laws are very entitled and have created a fake online persona. She does have a history of money crimes, but father-in-law and husband never reported her. Now is not the time to take advantage of hardworking people when some of us can't afford rent or food. She's definitely going straight to hell. Reporting her was definitely 100% the correct option here because she's literally committing fraud and identity theft. She's pretending to be someone else because she allowed her license to lapse nearly at this point 30 years ago, and clearly has no intention of going through the process of actually getting recertified in any way, shape, or form. So may as well just take advantage of some poor woman who just happens to have the same name as you and bada booey, free nursing license. So reporting her was definitely the correct option here. While this doesn't really matter to whether or not the mother-in-law should have been reported for committing identity theft, I do wish we had more information on the fight over the phone about the college transfers, because that just seems like such a weird, minute detail of someone's life of just, yeah, I transferred colleges. For there to be this kind of escalation over to where the mother-in-law is now doing background checks and claiming that, well, because of this, it's obvious my son doesn't even know you. Basically, I'm just wondering what else the mother-in-law has done because this just feels like a drop in a massive bucket and just one of the many things she's done. Although I wouldn't be surprised if this is the only thing that she's done and just went completely off the rails after hearing one just non-important detail about transferring colleges. But no matter what the mother-in-law has or hasn't done, reporting her for identity theft is 100% the correct choice here. Okay, bye, 1306. Mother-in-law feels left out after my traumatic birth. Let's start by saying my mother-in-law has 14 grandchildren, so this isn't her first. But for my parents, it is. I went into labor on the Monday and after 56 hours had an emergency C-section. My hormone crash has been horrific due to already struggling with depression and anxiety. Breastfeeding isn't working either, which is horrid to navigate. I just needed my mom, who has come to help me out. Now, my mother-in-law has refused to vaccinate, lives 5 hours away from me, has a long list of things I need to do to the house to make it fragrance-free so she's happy when she occasionally visits, and has put in little to no effort to see me as her daughter-in-law for the last 11 years. But now, because we have a baby, she wants to spend heaps of time with me. Hubby has explained I'm struggling, I need my mom, and she needs to back off. But now, she's trying to guilt trip him into letting her visit. She's trying to video chat me too, and I'm running on 3 hours of sleep and am just making it through the day. So far, hubby has stood his ground, and I'm grateful, but good Lord, just give us some time. We've only been home for 1 day. Any fun ways to navigate this? Need a good giggle. Update. So, y'all are going to be annoyed, but I caved and let her come and see my little one. Turns out, she is vaccinated against whooping cough and all other vaccines, but was refusing to get any moving forward. Anyways, she turned up just after we had gotten my little one down. It had taken a while as she had a long awake period. Instantly said to me, "Where's my granddaughter?" I explained she was asleep and she would have to wait for a bit and she was overtired. Mother-in-law tried to argue with me, but I stood firm. When little one woke up, I gave her a feed and brought her down for a cuddle. All was going well until she spotted my reed diffuser and said to me, I was a bad mother for having this around my little one, and I was putting her in harm's way. Hubby told her to drop it, and she sat there sulking until she left. She then sent a massive text to hubby saying he needed to protect her from chemicals, and the reason why she isn't settled is because we have exposed her to too much, and tried to tell us that Google would back her up. And she also again stated I was a bad mom because of this. Hubby blew up at her, and I have now gone no contact for the foreseeable future. Comment from user Rantis. Perhaps run your relationship with mother-in-law using take it or leave it as your motto. Our house will always have fragrance and smells. Take it or leave it. You will vaccinate yourself, or not see little one until they are fully vaccinated. Take it or leave it. I'll video chat with you when I can. Take it or leave it. If you choose to use this method, make sure that your face and voice suggest that your preference would be for her to drop off the face of the earth. Also, I do think it would be unfair to judge OP for relenting and caving to their mother-in-law, especially in a circumstance like this. Being constantly annoyed, you're already under stress, you're tired, and you're just receiving message after message after message and annoyance. And yeah, in the moment it might just be, fine, you know what, fuck it. Why don't you just come over and we can just get this over with so I can have some time to relax. And not have to deal with the constant attempts at communication from the mother-in-law. So she caves. She relents. Which is understandable. And thankfully, when mother-in-law did cross boundaries and lines set in the sand for what's tolerable and what's not just OP, but also her husband had no problem putting mother-in-law in their place. She was given a grace period out of tolerance to go and see the baby, and she ruined it. And this is what she gets. No contact for the foreseeable future. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup. And you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.